It got a little dicey at the end, but the Boston Celtics got past the Oklahoma City Thunder. They swept their road trip 4-0. Grant Williams had a career night. Jayson Tatum is flirting with history. What a week for the Boston Celtics. What a night, and what a podcast I have for you, because I have some stats that show how dominant the Celtics are, and a look at the big picture for your second-seeded Celtics right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every single day, Monday through Friday. It's daily during the work week, Monday through Friday. Remember that. I do take my weekends off. I get a couple of days to not talk into this microphone, but I do miss you on those days. Locked On Celtics free, available everywhere podcasts exist. Watch the show on YouTube. You can see what t-shirt I'm wearing. I like to mix up my t-shirts. My t-shirt budget has skyrocketed. Now that we've gone to YouTube, I'm easily like overflowing with t-shirts. I'm buying them like crazy. I like wearing new ones throughout the course of the season, throughout the course of the year. So that's a fun little thing to do on YouTube. I'm John Karalis, by the way. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, which I'm holding up on the YouTube channel. This book is available on my website, johnkaralis.com. It's also available everywhere books are sold. So you want to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever, you can still get this. It's a 75th anniversary season, so you can get this book as a gift for a Celtics fan in your life. You get signed copy on my website, $30. Tell me what you want to write in it, and I'll write whatever you say within reason. I've only got so much space. So whatever you think can fit onto this opening page here, I will write that for your friend, your family member, whomever you want to give this book to as a gift. Boston Celtics got past the Oklahoma City Thunder in this one. What was the final score? 132-123. That should be an easy one to remember. Flip those numbers around. Celtics put up big numbers early and kind of cruised the rest of the way. I'll talk about the game in the first segment. I'm going to save the second segment for more big picture stuff. And then in the third segment, bigger picture stuff, statistics that really show how far this Celtics team has come. They're standing in the league. Some really dominant numbers, which again, hard to believe that this team is doing this stuff, but they are. And when you pull out, you zoom out, it's actually been a great season, all things considered. Let's just start with this Oklahoma City game. Celtics came out in the first quarter, and it was just an absolute beatdown in the first quarter. Everything looked great in the first quarter. I thought they're going to cruise. I was starting to joke, like maybe I should start writing my recap now. And it felt like I could just sit here and be like, all right, let's just kind of ease into this night. But of course, the Celtics, last game of the road trip, the second night of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, probably was a little bit much to ask them to be consistent for 48 minutes. They relaxed, let Trey Mann go off in the second quarter. They let Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I say let. Trey Mann kind of like they didn't play him tight enough, but the man went off. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the fourth quarter went off, and no matter what the Celtics were doing, once they got going, there's nothing they could do to stop them. The Celtics got up to a 26-point lead in the fourth quarter, and they just chilled out, and they said, we got this. We're going to cruise into the end, and they didn't. They were outscored by 17 over the final 11 minutes. They needed a big Grant Williams offensive rebound to ice the game in the final seconds. He got that offensive rebound. It was a corner crash. It was the Celtics had dribbled out the shot clock, basically. Jayson Tatum kind of tosses a bit of a grenade over to Jaylen Brown, who missed the three. Grant comes in, gets the rebound, goes back up with it, gets fouled, hits the 2 free throws to kind of put the game away. They probably would have won if he didn't, but they definitely won after he did. So there was just barely enough time for OKC to come down, score, stop, and all of that stuff. But whatever it is, I'm not concerned. Let me start with that. I am not worried about that fourth quarter at all, which is a big departure, because if this had happened in December or early January, I would have been probably somewhat upset. But because they have this history now of winning, I was kind of like, you know what, a little bit more forgiving here. Actually, a lot bit more forgiving. Like I said before, that was a team that had built up a 26-point lead and probably thought like, all right, we're good. We're good. I shared this. I think I've told this story before on the podcast. I wrote it on Boston Sports Journal. But if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing it, I apologize if you've heard it before. But a few years ago, I ran the Falmouth Road Race, which is a 7-mile race. It's an awesome course along Falmouth. You run past the lighthouse. You're running along the water. It was a fun race. 7 miles though, and it's the longest race that I've ever run. And they round you up and they say, okay, when you get to the end, there's one more hill at the end. You've just got to be mindful of that. Remember there's a hill at the end. Okay. In my head, remember there's a hill at the end. So I'm running, I get past the 6-mile marker and I see a hill. I'm like, this has to be it. So I get mentally, I'm like, all right, here I go. I'm already exhausted. I've run a long time. My knees hurt. Everything hurt. It was hot. And I'm like, okay, mentally, I know I'm prepared for this. And I get through that hill. I get to the bottom of that hill. I'm like, whew, all right, I can now coast flat road the last, whatever it was, quarter of a mile, 2/10 of whatever it was. And I'm looking and I'm saying, I don't see finish line. I don't see what I'm supposed to be seeing. I feel like I'm supposed to be seeing here. Not out of my corner of my eye, I see, oh, damn. That's not the hill they were talking about. There's one more hill, but I've already mentally, I've let go. I've stopped. I'm just kind of trudging along. I'm ready to like get to the finish line. And that next hill was the absolute worst because I had nothing left. I couldn't summon any energy. My running, quote unquote, up that hill was slower than I normally walk, yet I was trying to run. And this is kind of like how I look at what the Celtics did. They mustered up enough mental energy to get themselves in this situation. Again, 3 games in 4 nights, second half of a back-to-back. They've been playing a lot of minutes. There's already a short rotation. So these guys generally play a bunch of minutes anyway. And I thought, beginning in the fourth quarter, that was their hill. That was the hill that I was talking about, the one that I got myself together for. Boom, you got up to that 26 points. You're like, good, great, awesome. I'm going to coast here. And then you out of the corner of your eye, you go, oh, damn, here comes SGA. He's still trying. Here comes Trey Mann. He's still trying. And, credit OKC. They try hard for 48 minutes. That's a team that just does not quit. And, good for them. Good for them. And the Celtics just couldn't get that last bit of, putting them away. And it was just a matter of, can we get to the finish line? Can I get myself across that finish line without like falling down, without having to be helped, without having, doing something embarrassing? I, by the way, did get to the finish line. I did finish that race, and the Celtics finished this race. And it was not pretty over the last final stretch, but they did it. So I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. They're not going to face this type of situation in the playoffs. They're not going to face the situation, I think, maybe except for one more stretch over the course of the regular season. I'm just not worried about it because in the playoffs, first of all, there's a little bit more motivation to finish games off in the playoffs. There's a lot more motivation to get 26 to 30 to 35 to 40 if you can. If you get to that point, you probably won't even get to that point. But if you do get up to a 26 point, every once in a while, there's a blowout in the playoffs. If you get to that point, there's definitely much more motivation to get to that next one. So in this situation, I don't see it as anything that I might have been worried about earlier this season. I think it's fine. Let me get to some of the individual stuff and bigger picture stuff in the second segment because I basically keep on talking and I won't shut up. So I'll get to Grant Williams, who had a career best, Jayson Tatum, who's knocking on the door of history, coming up next. First, I want to talk to you about BetOnline, big college basketball tournament. We're all waiting to see how the Sweet 16 goes. I'm sitting here looking at Providence, and they're opening up at 7.5-point underdogs against Kansas, which probably makes sense. But I'm still going to be wearing my black and my white, rooting for my Providence College Friars. Me and PC, we go way, way back to my high school days. So, yeah, I'm still going to back Providence. If I want to throw some money at 7.5, let me see if I can work up the courage to do that. But you can go to betonline.net and check out all the latest odds, player props, contests. That's where you're going to go. You're going to get scores and podcasts and news. It's all at betonline.net. It's obviously not just basketball. Baseball is back, and you'll be able to bet on baseball. When football comes back, that's going to be there. Hockey is there. There's already an opening line for the first football game, the Hall of Fame game in August. So go check it out. Whatever you want to do betting wise. They even have your favorite Vegas casino games. So go to the website today or use your mobile device. Check out all the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. I also want to talk to you about Athletic Greens. I take Athletic Greens because I want to make sure that my body is getting everything it needed. I'm a beat writer. I'm on the road a lot. It's tough for me to get my nutrition. So Athletic Greens AG1 is a specially formulated powder that is a special blend of ingredients that supports gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, gives you energy, recovery, focus, all of this stuff. And me in my 40s, aging, I want to make sure I'm aging a little more gracefully. 1 scoop of Athletic Greens AG1 in my water in the morning gives me all the nutrients that I need for the day. I want to make sure that my body is getting everything that it needs, because if it doesn't, that's when it starts to break down. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover. It cost him $100 a day. He made Athletic Greens AG1 to cost you $3 a day. So much more affordable to get all the stuff you need in one simple powder, one simple drink that tastes good. You get it in every morning. It's lifestyle friendly. So if you're on keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, it's all good. You can take this. It contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything. Still tastes great. They also, with every purchase, they donate to organizations to help get nutritious foods to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially now that we're in cold and flu season. You want to make sure you're getting healthy while the weather's getting better. You can get out there. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. This is the Tuesday show. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Locked On NBA. I will be hosting that with Jake Madison, so make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On NBA podcast. I host it with Jake every Wednesday. We've got rotating hosts all week long, so you get a bunch of different takes on the NBA, in-depth stuff around the league. Keep up with the league unlike any other way that you can find on any other podcast. So check out Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts. Also, it's on YouTube, so check it out there. Quickly, some individual performances from this OKC game. I really don't want to spend a ton of time on OKC game because it's just, I don't care. Like, I don't think this is indicative of a whole lot. But Grant, starting, no Robert Williams, no Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart had a sinus thing. He shouldn't be out very long. He might be back for Utah. Robert Williams had a right knee thing that happened during it's tendonitis in his right knee, sore right knee. Happened when he jumped off his right knee to catch a lob, and Ime said he saw it. He looked a little sore. They mentioned it during the broadcast. He was out, and so the Celtics were a little more shorthanded. That kind of contributes to some of the things that happened there. Some of the letting go of the rope, shall we say. But Grant Williams starts, and he gets a career-high 20 points, 10 rebounds, his first 2010 game. Talked about that big offensive rebound that kind of sealed the win, and hit the 2 free throws to put Boston up to 132 points. Jayson Tatum, big in this game. 11 of 19 shooting, 36 points. Third straight 30-plus point game while shooting fewer than 20 shots, 19 field goal attempts or less. This is a super high efficiency game. Jayson Tatum, now for a streak of 3 games, it's been done a bunch, but there's 43 players. Now you think about it, 43 sounds like a lot, but 43 guys over the course of the entirety of NBA history, only 43 in the playoffs or regular season have had 3 straight games where they've scored 30-plus points, but taken 19 or fewer shots. So that's still pretty impressive to me. If he does it again, now we start getting into the history, because only 5 players have done it 4 times or more. It's kind of rare. It's very rare. Triple doubles are much more frequent than things like this. This stretch, if he does it again versus Utah, he will become the 6th player in NBA history to score 30 or more points on fewer than 20 shots. LeBron James has the record at 6. Can Jayson Tatum get to 6 straight games of 30 plus with fewer than 20 shots? We'll find out. He's doing it by getting to the rim a lot. I mean, against OKC, it was hot knife through butter. Anything he wanted to do. But he's been doing it the whole road trip. The entire road trip, Tatum's been getting to the line. It also helps that he's been hot from 3. He was 5 of 11 in this game from 3. And the attacking, on top of everything, is getting him to the line. He was 9 of 9 from the free throw line. So he had that. Jaylen Brown almost had it. He's at 25 points on 10 of 19 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 6 from the line. If he hits his free throws, 6 of 6, that gets him to 28. Then all he needs to do is hit one more shot, and that gets him up to 30. He could have done it, which I'm for sure that would have been the only set of teammates to do it for 3 straight games. They still might be the only set of teammates to do it for 2 straight games. So I got to find a way to lock that number down. One of these days, I'll figure it out. Also, got to give a shout out. Peyton Pritchard was awesome in this game. Pritchard, 6 of 13, 5 of 11 from 3, had 9 points in the first quarter. That first quarter was like the dominant quarter. And Grant and Peyton Pritchard combined for 19 points in that first quarter. So that was pretty good. And Derek White, he finally hit a 3-pointer, though he was 1 for 5. Still not great there, but 5 of 10 overall, 7 of 7 from the line, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 18, 5, and 5 is great. I'll take 18, 5, and 5 from Derek White. He's not hitting the threes, but he's doing everything else. So let's hopefully he can get to the threes and at least get close to league average there. Feel like we're talking about Marcus Smart all over again with Derek White. Now, bigger picture stuff here for the Celtics. The bigger focus is that they swept this road trip. They lost to Dallas at home. They are 9-1 in March. All right. They lose to Dallas, and you think, geez, that might come back to haunt them. They just, and I remember talking about this going on this trip. Denver is going to be tough. Golden State's going to be tough, and they catch a couple of breaks and all of a sudden it's a 4-0 road trip. They're now tied for second in the East. Big picture, this is amazing. January 6th, remember, January 6th, you lose back-to-back games, San Antonio and New York. They're 18-21. They're the 11th seed. Now they are the 2nd seed. This is an amazing turnaround. They're 45-28. This is, and I'll get into stats when we come back that show exactly how dominant they've been. But big picture, like, I'm not worried about that fourth quarter because, like I said, throw that away. Who cares? It's not going to happen again. Like, that scenario is not going to present itself when it matters. I asked Ime Udoka about the defense after the game, and he's like, yeah, let go. We relaxed after we got up 26. We didn't pick up on Trey Mann. If they hold off, if Trey Mann doesn't have an absolutely outrageous second quarter, let me call up the second quarter stats just real quick. Trey Mann, 8 of 8 in the second quarter, 6 of 6 from 3, 23 points in the second quarter. That is an absolutely outrageous second quarter. If the Celtics just pick up on him a little bit sooner and hold him, even if they hold him to 15 points in the second quarter, that difference, that 8-point difference, takes that first half to 65. You take 8 points off of there, it would be 43. It would be 65-43 instead of 65-51. So instead of a 14-point game, we're talking about a 22-point game. And that changes the dynamic a little bit because now you come out in that third quarter and you still have that same amount of energy to pump that lead up. Instead of 26, maybe that lead is in the 30s, and you don't have to worry about that. So big picture, the Celtics have moved up to second in the East. They're percentage points behind Milwaukee and Philly, who are now tied at 44-27. Boston is 45-28. 2.5 games behind Miami. Celtics still play Miami once more. So this, I don't know, man. 2.5 games out, and I haven't even looked at Miami's schedule, but 2.5 games out with a game against the team you're chasing is not out of the question. It's not out of the question. Let me just quickly call up the Miami Heat schedule. They are now playing Golden State on Wednesday, New York, Brooklyn, Sacramento at home, at Boston, at Chicago, at Toronto, Charlotte, Atlanta, and at Orlando. So it's going to be tough to catch up. It's going to be tough to catch up because the Celtics are closing. First of all, they've got Utah on Wednesday. That's not going to be an easy game. Minnesota at Toronto, Miami, Indy, Washington, at Chicago, at Milwaukee, at Memphis. Those last 3 games of the season could be the difference. But the fact that we're even talking about the Celtics as a 1 seed, potential 1 seed, is mind-blowing. Up next, some dominant statistics. The Celtics are, their defense especially, but just how far this team has gone over the course of the season. That is coming up next after I tell you about Rock Auto. Your car's not going to go very far if you're not going to rockauto.com to get the parts that you need. It's simple math. Those chain stores in the strip malls can't carry everything. Rock Auto can. You can go over there and talk to that person, and they can tell you we can order something, but you can order that same thing from rockauto.com, and they give you a bunch of different price points to figure out what's in your budget. Do you need something complicated for your engine? What's in your budget? How much can you afford? Maybe you can fix your car sooner than you thought because you're like, I can't afford it. I can't afford to fix this. Go to rockauto.com, pop in all of your car's information. Maybe you can afford to fix this. Let me tell you something. When you can afford to fix something sooner, you're going to save a whole lot more money than just what you're paying for that piece, for that whatever you're ordering, because that's going to keep your car running better and it's going to keep other things from breaking down. That's why you need to get this stuff done. Can't put off car repairs. RockAuto.com is going to help you do it and do it quickly. If you don't know anything complicated, if you're like me, you can still get wipers when you need them. You can still get headlamps when you need them, floor mats when you need them. It's all there at RockAuto.com. Go check it out. I'm pretty sure you're going to buy something. When you do, make sure you write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. That's how they know we sent you. It's the only way they know we sent you. So please do that, right? Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. If you want a good recap of the night in the NBA, go check out Locked On Now. Make that your second listen after Locked On Celtics. Locked On Now, experts from each side. You get Locked On Celtics, you get Locked On Thunder, a recap from the Thunder side, get you all caught up on the night in the NBA. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. It's also on YouTube on the Locked On NBA YouTube feed. So the Celtics have 9 games left. 9 games left. It's wild. There are only 4 more games left in March, 5 in April. That is just mind-blowing to me. That it's like the Celtics have lived 5 different lifetimes. You had the Ime Udoka welcome aboard and promise of the regular season. And remember when everything was like, why are you switching so much? Everything was how switchy everything was, how the Celtics defense was kind of struggling at first because they couldn't handle all the switching. And are you sure you want Robert Williams to be out on the perimeter against these guys? Are you sure you want Al Horford out there against guards? Can he do it? Yeah, they can. He was sure. All of these different iterations of the Celtics have come to this point, but the Celtics have been kind of slowly creeping up in a lot of these rankings. At 45-28, they're tied for second in the East. They're the second most wins in the conference and 5th most in the NBA. They are one of 5, or actually 6 teams, because they're tied with Utah. 6 teams in the entire NBA with 45 or more wins. That's how good they've been. They've gotten themselves up to the top 6 in wins. Their point differential, plus 6.4, best in the East. They are 3rd best in the NBA. That's how many points on average they are winning by, 6.4 points. They're giving up 103.8 points per game. That's the fewest points per game allowed in the NBA. Their defensive rating, points per 100 possessions allowed, is 105.8. Best in the NBA. Fewest points, best defensive rating. Opponents' effective field goal percentage, which is a weighted metric that takes into account 3-pointers. It measures shooting on 2s and 3s. There's a formula for it. It's a little different than field goal percentage. 49.9%. That's the opponent's effective field goal percentage. Lowest in the league. The only one below 50% in the entire NBA. Their net rating, which is the difference between defensive rating and offensive rating. It's all by 100 possessions. They do defensive rating and offensive rating. We look at that a lot because it levels everything out. Because some teams can allow less points per game because you're playing at a slower pace and you don't have a lot of possessions. So when you level everything out per 100 possessions, it just kind of gives you a clear picture of where everybody is. So the difference between their offensive rating and their defensive rating is their net rating. How many points are you scoring? How many points do you allow? And their net rating is 13.3 since the back-to-back losses that I talked about, San Antonio and New York, when they went to 18-21. Since then, 13.3, best in the league. They're 27-7 since then. That's wild. 27-7. Since they fell to 18-21 and they were 11th. They've gone 27-7 since to climb to second. They have the best net rating in the league. Since then, the effective field goal percentage for the Celtics in that stretch, 55.7. That's fourth in the NBA since then. And then Sean Grandy rounds out this look at the stats with this. After the Celtics road trip, the Celtics have been a dominant road team. I talked a little bit about that yesterday's podcast. Boston has had 20-point leads in 17 road games this season, which is asinine. They've done it 5 straight games and in 11 of their last 13. That, again, courtesy of Sean Grandy, radio voice of the Boston Celtics. That's stupid. No team does that. And the Celtics are doing that. Going on the road and they're destroying other teams. And if they'd had some legs, or even if they'd had a full roster in this game against OKC, that number would have been even worse. Or at least this upcoming stat, best road differential in the NBA. Celtics are winning games on the road by 7.2 points. First is Phoenix at 7.5 points. So it's Phoenix at 7.5, Boston at 7.2, plus 7.2. Then Brooklyn is third at plus 3.8. That's how dominant these teams have been. Boston and Phoenix on the road have been dominant, and the next most dominant team is almost 3.5 points behind them. Almost 4 points behind Phoenix. That's significant. All of these numbers point to the Celtics just being good. Celtics are just damn good. And the funny thing is, I look at this Utah game coming up on Wednesday and I think, ooh, Gobert, middle, rim protector. Celtics don't do great against rim protectors. Let's see what they can do now. It's like I'm asking them to prove it all over again. But I don't know. I just accept the fact that they're good. I am very curious to see what the game plan is going to be against Rudy Gobert. I'm sure they've got something planned. I'm sure they've seen the game planning out there. I'm really kind of curious. And it's not always about Rudy Gobert. It's about the perimeter defenders. So Tatum and Brown, I think Tatum's going to have another big game because getting past the initial point of attack, I think he's going to get to himself to Gobert. And it's just a matter of the dump offs. And if Rob plays, I think that's going to be the big question. If Robert Williams plays, then this could be really fun. But if he doesn't, then it's going to be a bit of a challenge against Gobert. But I'm asking them to prove it all over again. And I probably should stop doing that because they've proven a whole hell of a lot. The next proving ground is going to be the playoffs, I suppose. Again, the Celtics at 2.5 games out, they can finish anywhere from first to fifth at this point. When we look at, let me pull up the standings real quick so we can wrap up the show. Chicago is 4.5 games out. So with 9 games left, there's still a chance there. But very important, Lonzo Ball coming back from his knee injury, they had to ramp him. They were trying to ramp him up. They didn't shut him down, but they're scaling him way back. So he's not coming back right away. He's not coming back soon. That's going to be an issue for Chicago. Their defense is taking a hit. They've fallen down to 5th. They're, I think, a little bit more in danger of falling down to 6th. So with Miami at number 1 and Philly, Milwaukee, Boston, 2, 3, 4, somewhere in that range, 2, 3, 4 is going to be those teams. If you remember before the season started, that's kind of where we thought they'd be. I kind of put Milwaukee and Philly in that top 2, and I said Boston, Miami. I thought Toronto might be up there. Brooklyn's the one outlier. Brooklyn obviously went through a whole lot of crap, but Boston in that 4, 3, 4, 5 mix. 4 might be the way it goes, but we'll see. They have games against Milwaukee. They've got games again. They got a game against Miami. They've got games here where they can leapfrog. It's all so tight. So who knows what this seeding is going to be? We'll take a closer look at that as the podcasts continue, as the Celtics, the next win can change everything. So a lot more to get to this week. It's a Monday through Friday show, and I'll be here for you every day. No other Celtics podcast is giving you daily Monday through Friday content. No one is. Some aren't even giving you more than once a week, maybe twice, maybe. But Locked On Celtics, 5 days a week. With the team this good, you want 5 days a week. You want to be able to get in your car or get in that shower or sit at home and do your housework, cast the YouTube channel up to your TV and watch and listen as you're cooking dinner. You want to do all that and bask in the glow of your 45-28 Boston Celtics, who have won 4 games in a row. It's the second longest winning streak in the NBA. 9 wins out of their last 10 games, 9-1 in March. The best team in March, easily. This team, best team since January 1st. Bask in the glow of this team. That's good, great even. So make sure you're subscribed to this show Monday through Friday. Watch the show on YouTube. And if you are a subscriber and you watch regularly or listen regularly, I would love it if you share the podcast, tell your friends, tell everybody to listen to and watch the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.